about it because we're into Saturday morning. But hey, it's all good. Time is relative. So, hey, who the hell knows what time it is really? Who's to say that any clock that I have in my home is actually accurate or based on anything in reality? I can't technically prove it. And that's why life is very confusing, because if time isn't even technically real, what the hell are we doing here? I don't know. We're here to do the Blunt Doctor Show. That's what we're doing. And it's been a strange week. No SNS because family was in town. No Blunt Doctor Show because myself and B were not available. We tried to do a late week SNS and a Blunt Doctor Show combination. And my dear friend Keith was not feeling well. Shout out, homie. I'm glad you're feeling better. All is well. That was very sort of abrupt. We were doing the show. I actually thought Keith was like making a joke because he's about he thought he was about to trash another team. I thought it was like a very innovative way to insult people. And then in fact, my friend was not feeling well. So I feel bad about that, but all is well. So that's why we sort of rushed out of here, just to sort of address why we started the show and then randomly took off. It is a really weird time in this world. It is a very strange time to be an American citizen because you know essentially that everyone who's not in basically Israel hates you, because we are doing every single thing we can to ruin every single thing for everyone everywhere. And, we're no longer even playing, America's police. We're the world police. We're, the world bully. And we're insisting that every single thing go our way. And I find it interesting that the situation with the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has shut it down and is essentially not allowing most traffic through. There are claims at different times that they've allowed some through. There's negotiations, and Trump goes and simultaneously declares that we're not in a war and that we've won the war and that Iran is giving up on the war, but there is no war. The show Designated Survivor, and it was I think the first episode, maybe it was the second episode, I don't know. But one of the first things that occurred in that was a panic over Iran potentially closing the Strait of Hormuz because the plot of Designated Survivor is the entire U.S. government is assassinated, essentially. And, the new president comes in and there's all these things about all this. And that's a television show, sort of a ridiculous television show from more than a decade ago, maybe even more than a decade. It's been a minute. So, in this ridiculous show with an absurd plot, they're very concerned about the Strait of Hormuz being closed. And Trump managed to make that happen just by being a warmongering dipshit. Something that may have otherwise never occurred at any point throughout history, that was used as an extreme point in a show where the entire government is assassinated. So think about this for a moment. In this show, they proposed the idea of the Strait of Hormuz being closed as sort of a fear retaliation or a power retaliation in response to the entire government of the United States being eliminated. And in this case, Trump has managed to shut it down just by being a piece of shit. Something that was an extreme and unimaginable scenario in a television show has become real because our president is the dumbest fucking moron in the history of planet Earth. We live in the dumbest timeline. We live under the dumbest government. We live in a world full of the most hateful, moronic people. None of this, what are we even really doing here? This is what everyone voted for? Gas is $70 a gallon. Oil barrels are $18 trillion. This is what everyone wanted. This is what Americans perceived as good. And obviously, finally, Trump's approval ratings are the lowest they've ever been. And you have what is the response of the GOP? In Missouri, what did they do? They just had a judge literally just basically said that a citizen referendum doesn't count because they don't want it to. So we legitimately have referendums specifically for the people to be able to define what they want from local government and what they believe the law should be. And the state of Missouri and the state of, Tennessee and Mississippi and Florida, really, and Louisiana, all these other states, really. But the most recent evidence is Missouri. Ohio is another one that does it all the time. But they just basically, we have yet another scenario where a judge says, I don't care what the people say. I know what's best for everyone. So I'm going to overrule the law and overrule the voters. And I'm just going to do what I want. Because even though he knows it's going to be overruled, there's only a few days left till the election. And thus, there will be no, emergency appeals probably won't happen in time. Because this is the point of the Republicans. Again, nothing is about governing. Nothing is about helping people. It's just about stalling and maintaining their role in white supremacy and the power of white supremacy as long as physically fucking possible. Because white supremacy is dying, even with Donald Trump winning multiple elections. Like, it's a fact of truth. Like, number one, there are more interracial relationships every single day, which thus is just going to, degrade the power of whiteness, as it were, as a thing, which is good for the world because we just don't need that. And number two, like, again, every single day we see what happens when we let white supremacy have control. Republicans voted for low gas prices and not sending their children to war. And they're getting high gas prices and sending their children to war. There have been multiple videos of like Republican voters in recent days who are like, I guess I was a fucking moron. And it's like, yeah, you were. And it's insane that it took you this long to figure it out. But, and again, there will always be 30% of people that support the Republicans no matter what you do. It does not matter. There are some people that simply do not have brain power and will never, ever change. That exists. That is a reality. You're not ever going to mess with those people. But again, as I've said many times, what matters is independent voters. And it seems that the Republican Party has finally lost them. So that's why they're gerrymandering everything into oblivion to try to make sure that it doesn't matter that they've lost independent voters, because they're going to find any way they can to steal elections. Because Republicans know every single thing they think is unpopular, every single thing they want is unpopular. They have survived through a very successful campaign of gerrymandering that began a long, long, long time ago. Republicans knew that their ideas were regressive and that they were going to fade in the light of the future, because that's what it is. Progressive literally means progress. Republicans are literally against that. And so 50 years ago, and it was tremendous foresight by them politically to understand this, but under the Reagan era, Republican local organizing got better and better and better, and it continued to get that way. And they have gerrymandered every city and every state into oblivion. And that's why the voting power of Americans is completely diluted, unless you are a Republican, in which case it is significantly greater than it actually should be. And that's the country that we live in now, is an absolute nonsense, ridiculous. This is where we are. And what are you going to do? Like, what again, our president is so stupid that he has raised the prices of everything we have. He has raised gas prices. He has destroyed our relationships with the world. He has destroyed our superiority in the world. He has ruined our connection to every single treaty. He has basically said, China, go ahead. You be the supreme superpower of this world, because the United States is not going to do it anymore. We're going to focus on the policy of stupid. That's what we are. The policy of stupid. Republicans are the party of stupid, and Americans as a country are stupid policy. That's what we do. Okay? That's what we've become. And it's truly embarrassing. Salud. And let's drink to the America that Never was. That we thought was. We believed this was a good country. It's not one. Oh, America sucks. What are you going to do, right? I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with this scenario? Oh, I know what we're going to do with it. We're going to ban trans people from using private bathrooms in businesses. What? What the fuck are you talking about? This is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. And this is, again, another example. The Republicans want to fund a genocide in Gaza. They want to strip the rights of everyone in this country. And then they want to pass stupid fucking bills like this to distract you from those things. Because they don't actually give a shit about trans people. This is not something that Republican people care about, obviously. Trans people don't mean anything to them. They don't care about that. This is a culture war issue that they can use to create more division and to distract from the actual things that are doing that rob all of us, right? Because if you are a Republican person who is successfully enraged at the idea of transgender people existing, and you are successfully enraged at the idea of people getting abortions, then you might not even fucking care about the way that whatever recent company is robbing you. And I say this because look at companies like BlackRock that exist that have now bought up and destroyed our entire housing market. Nobody in the Republican Party cares or gives a shit about that except Marjorie Taylor Greene, who loves to cosplay as a good person occasionally when she's not being a fucking transphobe, homophobic bigot. Fuck that bitch. I don't care that she literally stayed in Congress until she got her lifetime annuity and then resigned. Fuck you people who have said that she's a good person just because she stood up to Trump. She stood up to Trump after sucking his fucking dick for years. That's not impressive. It's not cool to do a bunch of shit that's wrong and then say one thing on the way out. John McCain was a son of a bitch scumbag Republican who voted against every single good thing in the world for years. And then the last thing he did before he died was basically vote against that one healthcare bill that would have screwed us. And everyone was like, oh, he's a hero. And his final, like, man, he fucking screwed. He like fought against the ACA. He did all these other things. Like, you want to say John McCain's a war hero, fine. You want to say you respect him because he was a senator and served in the military and had his arms broken and all these things, fine. But like praising that one time he voted well when he voted poorly millions of other times, like what are we fucking doing? Our compass is so completely screwed up. We will let someone do something horrible for years and then they do one good thing and we're like, oh, they really redeemed themselves. No, they fucking didn't. And so this is what happens right here is this law is dumb as shit. Like, if you are a person who hired a transgender individual, you're not going to turn them in for using the bathroom of their gender identity. So all this is a scenario in which we can create a situation where hateful people can snitch on, you know, the gender identity or gender transgender people in their office based on them not using the bathroom that is with their birth identity instead of their current gender identity. And again, it's been proven many times, you don't fucking know who's transgender. This whole, oh, you can always tell when you look at him. No, you can't. You don't know shit. So often people will post a picture of a goddamn celebrity and say, this is my brother. He's transgender. And despite the fact that he was born a woman, he's a man. And all these people will go, he's not a man. He'll never be a man. He's a woman. And it's a fucking male celebrity. You don't fucking know what you're talking about. Ever. Every single person who identifies as a Republican is a moron. All of them. Bar none. 100%. Every single one of these fucking people who sit here and currently today support this shit, you are a moron. Moron. M-O-R-O-N. I-D-I-O-T. There you go. I'm the idiot. I can't spell whatever fuck ever. If you really truly have any form of current conservative thought, which is in no way conservative, by the way. They don't even know what the word conservative means. But if you identify with the current American Republican Party, you are a piece of shit. You are a bad person. We're literally talking about how people use the bathroom. And so this will, of course, I mean, number one, how many trans people live in Idaho? Like, I'm sure that there's some because there are always people who are stuck in terrible situations. But imagine that you're a trans person and you've grown up in this backwards ass state. I promise you, I've been to Idaho. I did work there. I swear to God, I promise you, the first thing you're going to do in Idaho is fucking leave. 90% of the trans people in Idaho are in Portland or Seattle, and the other 10% are in Los Angeles. So, like, I don't even know how many people this affects, but nonetheless, the net effect of this is going to be that you're going to have people saying that person's trans and they use the bathroom, and people are going to be arrested for using the bathroom that they literally are supposed to be using because people don't know. They're just going to start accusing people of being trans. Like, this is absurd. This shit is dumb as fuck, and it will probably be eventually overturned on, you know, some sort of federal level. There will be some form of, not now, of course, in our current world, but, you know, ultimately this bill is not legal. Like, you can't, you cannot determine who uses the bathroom in a private business. Like, it's literally private property. You literally can't do this. But, you know, again, we're in the dumbest timeline full of the dumbest fucking people. Like, old white men are morons, like, at a pace of 90%. Like, almost all old white men are stupid as fuck. There are very few exceptions to this rule. My stepfather, an exception to this rule. He is a good human being. And I am proud, you know, this is the thing, is my biological father, piece of shit, scumbag, don't like him, hate him, wish that he was a better person. He's my father or whatever. But I actually consider my stepfather my actual father, because he raised me, and he raised me to be a good person, and he's a good person. And he is one of the very few older white guys who's actually a good dude. And so, fucking good for him. And I say that shit all the goddamn time because it's true. And I am lucky enough to have been raised by someone who helped me not become one of these fucking people, who helped me not become like my own biological father, right? So I know what it means to know an actual good old white man. And there are just so few of them. There are just so few of them. There is something that happens to us white men. We get crotchety and evil as we get older, and I am trying to fight that in every single way that I can. You know, I'm sure that I have some opinions that are stupid and old, and, you know, I just hope that a lot of them are about music and movies and not, you know, like life and good politics. Like, I'm okay thinking that my old music is better than new music. That's an okay opinion to have, and I can just be wrong according to the kids. That's fine. But if you're literally sitting here saying that you want to criminalize where someone pees, you're a fucking moron. Like, this is and again, none of this is real. They don't care about this, but they don't want you to pay attention to Elon Musk saying he wants to build a factory so large that it would be the size of 3 Central Parks and would consume so much energy that it would take up like an entire state. They don't want to talk about those things, right? What they want you to talk about is this dumbass shit. And if they pass these stupid fuck laws, you won't pay attention to what's actually going on. So much of what Republicans do is smoke, mirrors, and misguiding people. And that's just the truth. And this bill, again, all you're doing is creating a scenario where coworkers are going to snitch on each other, and they're not even going to know who they're snitching on. And this will end up in so many people who are not trans being arrested for being like this. This is the dumbest shit in the world. It is the dumbest shit in the world. Although, you know, some other things that we do will challenge for that. And maybe this, I just wanted to show all of these headlines about the DHS and TSA shutdown, and maybe you can't read them, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, quite literally, it's been yet again another scenario where, and some of it is resolved, partially resolved. We have to have bills banning transgender people from using the bathroom that identifies with their gender identity, because then they won't notice that we've been the most useless do-nothing government ever. Like, The crazy thing about the Trump administration is that in the first one, they did literally nothing. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how anything worked. They didn't do anything. Now, the second time, they were much more prepared and they did a bunch of crazy shit. But ultimately, they didn't really do anything. They've undone things. They've undone the EPA. They've undone things. They haven't really done things. The Democrats will eventually regain power and come back in and actually do things and write things in stronger. But Trump has not done things as much as he's undone things. There was once government stability. Now he has undone that. There was once stability about the TSA. Now he has done that. Let's remember, for anyone who's old enough, let's remember that before 9/11, airport security was a private business. Okay? So there was no TSA. It didn't exist. And what happened? 9/11 happened. Then we created the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration. It's been federally oversight ever since. And honestly, we haven't done a bad job. That was a thing that Trump did, or excuse me, that was a thing that Bush did. Hilarious. Bush and Trump, same in my mind. They're both human garbage. But that was the thing that Bush did in reaction to 9/11 that he was correct about. And I've said a few times, I have no love for George W. Bush. He was a warmongering monster piece of shit. But he was also right on like 3 things. Actually, 4 things. Number 1, his policy on creating guest worker visas for illegal immigrants was 100% correct. It should have been completely supported by Democrats, but Democrats are, liberals just don't know what the fuck they're doing and don't know how to govern. And that should have been a home run for everyone. He was right about that. Number 2, he was right that we should have expanded and continued our space exploration. He was on board with that. He was right about that. Number 3, Transportation Security Administration. Listen, airports and airplanes have been safer since there has been more oversight of airports and airplanes. Since 9/11, air traffic has been so significantly safer. And so I'm not going to argue that that was not a good idea. It was. And the final thing is that he believed after 9/11 that the next thing that would occur would be a pandemic. So he created all of these offices to prevent pandemics. And of course, Barack Obama and then Donald Trump winded them down right before we had COVID. Wound them down, excuse me. So I hate George W. Bush. And you could argue that his policy on gay people wasn't horrible either because, as we know, Dick Cheney at the time still loved his daughter and wasn't as hateful towards gay marriage as other Republicans, and thus he asked Bush to sort of back off on it. Now, over time, all of those things changed, but it certainly wasn't a core of Bush at that time in the way that other things were. They were certainly against gay marriage, but they were not trying to ban gay people and trans people from existing in the way that Trump is now. And so what has resulted from all of this is that Trump is undermining our own federal departments. He is destroying our own, this is just the dumbest shit in the world. I'm going to try to bring some of these things up a little closer so they can be seen. There we go. And it's just, again, every single day on social media right now, you see people talking about how long it took them to get through an airport. And here you go, 37 minutes ago, DHS shutdown drags on after House GOP rejects Senate bill. So with all the power that Republicans have right now, they still can't even fucking agree with each other. And thank God we still have enough security at airports that things are okay. They sent ICE agents to some airports that they're not. Obviously, ICE agents aren't going to help anything. We're in the dumbest timeline where this fascist autocrat won't even fund his fascist autocratic departments. And good, I guess. But I kind of feel like the ones that make our airports safe probably should be funded. Those are the ones that you probably want to fund. We live in the dumbest timeline. Every single thing about this timeline is dumb as shit. And, maybe at some point we need to restore what the FBI once was. Because look at this. Not only was Kash Patel's personal email hacked, but they found his Xvideos account. Xvideos, for those of you who are good people and don't waste your time on such things, is a porn website. Now, a lot of states have passed porn verification laws that force you to verify your age before you watch porn, so that we, have fewer children watching porn and all these things. What that means is that Kash Patel needed to watch porn on his phone so badly that he signed up for all of these age verification programs while being FBI director. Consider, there are a million other ways to get porn aside from, websites that require verification. There's all sorts of ways, but Kash Patel is an idiot. And so he signs up using a username that he uses on other websites. And he, I don't even know what to say about this. Like, this is absurd to me. This is fucking hilarious. This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. You're the director of the FBI. Have someone else sign up for the porn account. Like, do you understand? There are so many database hacks of usernames and passwords of sites significantly more important than porn sites. Do you understand how stupid you have to be a known public individual and use a known username on a porn site? This guy already is dating a spy. If you don't know about Kash Patel's girlfriend, go look this woman up. She's an Israeli spy. And he believes that she loves him. She doesn't. She's a spy. And it's she's way out of his league in every single, it's very clear that he has been duped. And these are the people in our government. And again, if I don't say it on here enough, what's going on in Gaza is a genocide. And we are currently using anti-Semitism as a means of helping conduct that genocide. And by that, what I mean is, we take every true and serious discussion about what goes on with the Jewish people and turn it into a discussion of what the IDF wants. We do not consider the actual plight and struggle of Jewish people who are constantly targeted for simply being Jewish. What we do is take every single discussion about Jewish people and frame it as what the IDF wants. The IDF is, of course, the Israeli Defense Force, and is supposedly a representation of all things Israeli and thus Judaism, but those things are not true. At a certain point, people have to accept that Israel and Judaism are not the same thing. Israel is a country with a political agenda. Judaism is a religion. It is something that people worship and practice and love. Israel is a country with a political agenda. These are not the same thing. And saying that Israel's political agenda and their genocidal agenda against Gaza is bad is not anti-Semitic. And it is, in fact, anti-Semitic to say that everything that the Israelis do is in the name of the Jewish religion. That is anti-Semitic. To claim that this genocide is part of the Jewish faith, that is anti-Semitic. So our government is literally using anti-Semitism to claim they are combating anti-Semitism, when in fact, you are the ones actually perpetrating what you are doing. And all of your propaganda, you are actually doing this because you are claiming that the Jewish faith is all about murdering innocent children, and it is not. That is anti-Semitic. That's what our country is doing. Let's talk about one more sad thing before we move into cool stuff. This is kind of a bridge from politics to sports. Tiger Woods on another DUI. He blew it. Let's be clear. His breathalyzer was a 0. Okay? So it wasn't alcohol. And so we have to be honest about that. And I know how cops will get you with a DUI even when you haven't drank. The shit is known. However, he did roll his car. And, you know, when you've had DUIs before and you roll your car again and you're known to have multiple surgeries in your back and you have a pill problem, listen, I'm willing to give Tiger the benefit of the doubt that this is a pill addiction problem because of all of his back surgeries and that, you know, he's not an evil person who thinks that drunk driving isn't an issue, but in fact, he is just a person who, again, not drunk driving, but intoxicated driving. He's a person who doesn't understand when he's had too many pills, all these things. Maybe that is true. Again, his breathalyzer was 0. So he was not drunk. So this doesn't seem to be a case of Tiger not just giving a shit about the law and driving drunk whenever he wants. But it does seem that at the very least, he doesn't know when his pills affect him. And that's a very generous interpretation because this happened multiple times. So at this point, it would be easy for me to say, hey, you know, Tiger has a problem. That would be very easy to say. And I think in one way or another, he does. If he truly doesn't know what his medicine is doing to him, then yeah. But okay, all of that is a very generous interpretation. So let's be clear and let's be real. Tiger is a perfect example of sort of the flawed superstar. You know, he's the greatest golfer of all time. He doesn't hold every record, but he holds so many records. He dominated in a way that very few athletes dominate their sport at his peak. And then he destroyed his reputation through a cheating scandal. He further destroyed his reputation with a DUI. He has worked really hard to get back and has had occasional moments of greatness, including a Masters win that nobody anticipated. And now he's had another DUI. And, you know, again, you can interpret this however you want. I think it's pretty generous to say that this guy doesn't have an issue. Just because you don't drink and drive doesn't mean you're not intoxicated when you drive. It is bullshit to say that anyone who's ever taken a pill is intoxicated when they drive. But Tiger has flipped like multiple cars. Like when you're flipping cars, like here's the thing. When your car flips, you are, unless your tire exploded in a Firestone 1998 style incident, if you flip a car, you are at best driving insanely recklessly. And if you are sober, that's not necessarily better. If you are sober and driving so recklessly that you flip your car, and thus you are driving so recklessly that you are driving potentially worse than you would if you were drunk or high, that's not better, right? That's not a good thing. So, look, I also understand. I have in my life, I have surgical pins in both of my hips that will never be pulled out unless I eventually have hip replacements, okay? I have had a knife through both of my eyes to correct an eye muscle issue in my brain. So I have gone through some excruciating surgeries that were legitimately so painful that I don't even know how to describe them. And I can still remember the pain. So when I see what's going on with Tiger's back and the level of degradation he's had in his spinal cord and all these things, I understand the constant use of painkillers. I really do. Like, sometimes this pain is so bad that you wouldn't believe what you would do to avoid it. But my guy, you have hundreds of millions of dollars. You've got $1 billion from your Nike contract. Hire a fucking driver. Why are you driving yourself anywhere? Like, Like the thing is that no matter what this is, it comes down to judgment. It wasn't alcohol, fine. It was pills, fine. Or it was not pills, but it was reckless judgment. All of those things, or reckless driving, excuse me, all of those things are bad judgment. You have legitimately, like he is like legitimately right now. I know he didn't take the Live deal. Live, even in this state, he is, he is who he is. They offered him $1 billion and he said no. And, I think the PGA paid him a bunch to stay, but I don't think that they didn't pay him anywhere near $1 billion. And, but he's still got tons and tons of cash. And the reason he turned out $1 billion is because he already has $1 billion from Nike, right? So, but that's my point. Hire a fucking driver. Why are you driving yourself anywhere? Purchase a tank that cannot be damaged and have someone else drive you around in that. Why are you driving yourself? Why are you doing any? And listen, I'm a person who loves to drive. I love driving. I get it. I really, truly do. I love driving so much. But one of the best ways to get in trouble in this world is to get caught driving when you should not be. And if I had all the money in the world, despite my love for driving, I would drive on private property and private scenarios, and I would let someone else drive me everywhere else. And if I had an alcohol or if I had weed or I had whatever, wouldn't matter. I'm riding in the back. And Tiger will not learn this lesson. And, it is a bummer that most of, I think, this generation only knows Tiger for the shitty things he has done and not what an incredible golfer he was. And, that's his fault. At a certain point, you put this on yourself. But the world has almost forgotten how incredible, how dominant Tiger was. Tiger is the reason golf is popular right now. The reason that the Live Golf Tour exists is because of how popular Tiger Woods was in the 90s and 2000s. And if you think I am kidding, you can ask any single golf historian about that. Golf was okay. It was doing okay. When Tiger Woods came to golf, that changed the game forever. They finally had an athlete that they could market to everyone. Like Tiger Woods, that's the reason that to this day, when he's still not even, he's had multiple DUIs, the cheating scandal, he's not nearly the golfer he once was. He scrubs out of a bunch of tournaments. It doesn't matter. He's still the most famous and most wealthy golfer in the world because of all of his advertisements, because what he once was fucking unseen in the sport. And the billions of dollars that exist now that are being handed out are because of what Tiger Woods did. That shit is factual. I don't care about Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and Greg Norman. All those guys were very cool and they helped build the sport. Tiger took it to what it is. Tiger was for golf what Michael Jordan was for basketball, right? He was what, like Joe Montana probably was for football, right? Tiger was the guy who took it from here to where everyone saw greatness. He's what Wayne Gretzky was to hockey, right? Yeah, Tom Brady is the greatest football player of all time, but when he came to football, the sport was established. Joe Montana really helped through those years establish it. Tiger Woods helped make this one of the most, popular sports in the world. Soccer has this all over in Europe with Messi and all these things. Tiger is that guy. And to this day, he can't get his shit together. And this is the thing. When you are so famous and have everything, but you can't do the one thing that made you great anymore because you're injured, I think it breaks a dude like this. But the simple fact of the matter is, like, you still had the highs that are greater than so many people. You need to be able to accept that. And flipping cars when you're drunk or high, like, it's not gonna make shit better. Like, I grew up idolizing this guy. I wanted to be a golfer at one point. I was never gonna be good enough. I suck now. I enjoy playing the game, but I suck at it. But anyone who played golf in the last 30 years, idolized this dude. And it sucks to see him just constantly show that not only is he flawed, we're all flawed, but that he is flawed in a way that is so uncaring to the world around him. He is so comfortable with his children seeing him get DUIs repeatedly. It hurts my fucking feelings. I respected this dude. And I wasn't even mad at him over the cheating scandal. Listen, it's douchebag shit to cheat on your wife. I understand that. But when you are one of the richest, most famous men in the world, you are going to have women everywhere throwing themselves at you. It sucked for Elin Nordegren. And again, that sucked for his children. I understand that. But that is so much more of a human mistake than repeatedly flipping cars because you're high. Like, again, cheating sucks. And it hurts people's feelings. When you're flipping cars, you're like risking lives. Not just your own, but you could hurt completely innocent people who have nothing to do with what's going on. And I think that we in this society, like, we are so angry at cheaters, rightfully so, for what they do wrong, correct. But we sometimes will elevate cheating to the level of crime. It's not a crime. It's a shitty thing to do. This is a crime. Getting high and flipping a car is a crime. Again, what if someone's walking on the street when you do this shit? That's unforgivable. And he's done it multiple times. So the cheating thing, shitty. But you're an athlete, you're a famous person, it happens. I'll let you be back on a golf course after that. Whatever. Like, maybe people won't like you as a person, but you don't lose your job over that. This repeatedly fucking having DUIs, repeatedly flipping cars, repeatedly proving that you don't care about the lives of those around you, gets really, really hard to respect a dude. You know, at a certain point, you suck. And it's a bummer. So, let's talk about some good shit for a bit. Boom! Arizona Wildcats. Now listen, we're not going to have Sunday Night Suns style highlights, unfortunately. Hasn't worked out in this scenario. I don't do the highlights. Keep those highlights. Keep the highlight guy. I'm lazy. I'm sorry. But let's talk about my school. Anyone who watches this show who knows me knows that I've always been a University of Arizona basketball fan. I did not go to college. I'm sorry. Well, I went to college recently, but I did not go to college when I was younger. And thus, my ties to Arizona and to Michigan are both through familial connections. I'm very sorry that I didn't go there, and I'm very sorry that makes others so angry. But nonetheless, anyone who also knows me knows that my nephew, and we've talked about it, my nephew Andrew passed away. He went to the University of Arizona, and he was a diehard fan. And I dropped my vape, and I'm going to pick that shit up. And my nephew, right now, this would mean everything to him. Now, it means everything to my other nephews as well. I don't want to, denigrate everyone else and say that it doesn't mean anything to them. But it means a lot to those of us who knew what it would have meant to Andrew for this run. This is everything to us. You know, University of Arizona basketball is something that is, I don't know about sacred, but in my family, it's a big damn deal. And to see this team playing this way right now, to blow out Arkansas and absolutely put them on the ropes and, make Darius Acuff just completely incapable of doing anything to change the game, to watch this team, play the Utah State game where, we can't make a shot. We're missing every single thing. And they're still leading by, like double digits for the majority of the game because they're just so goddamn dominant on defense. This team is special. And this is a special time. You can't guarantee anything. We haven't got the job done. They haven't won the championship. They haven't made the Final Four. So we're not going to sit here and count our chickens. We're not going to sit here and talk about what's going to happen for sure, whatever. I just want to be proud of what this team has done. And I just want to say to Tommy Lloyd, number one, historically, this is accurate. I am the person who broke the news that Tommy Lloyd was being hired by Arizona. That is factual. It is not reported in all of your newspapers. It's not reported on ESPN. But if you go back and look, I am the first person that reported that Tommy Lloyd was hired by the University of Arizona. And 98.7 in Phoenix can verify that I did that. So I am the person that broke Tommy Lloyd being hired by Arizona. The most prominent Arizona radio station can confirm that. Those things are facts. And so I say that to say, when I found out that Tommy Lloyd was hired by Arizona, I was so thrilled. I thought that he would be phenomenal. I loved what he did with Gonzaga in terms of international recruiting, and I thought that bringing that to Tucson would be an incredible idea, and it was. Tommy Lloyd has won more games in his first 5 years in Arizona than anyone in NCAA history. And I say all this to say, please don't go to North Carolina, Tommy. Please do not do it. Don't do it. Don't go to North Carolina. I understand. I get it. They're this blue blood school. There's all this history. There's all these things. Don't go to North Carolina. You have the opportunity to build a dynasty in Arizona. You have the opportunity to be greater than Lute Olson. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Lute Olson. I am saying that Lute Olson is one of the greatest coaches in the history of college basketball. He is a god in Arizona basketball. And you are so good at this. You have the opportunity to do what even he couldn't do. And if you did that same thing in North Carolina, they would still compare you to Dean Smith. They'd still compare you to Roy Williams. They'd still talk about other coaches. You can be the guy in Arizona basketball. And I'm not trying to denigrate Lute Olson in any way. I love Lute Olson. The championship he brought to Arizona is one of the most important things in my sports history. But Tommy Lloyd is the guy who has the opportunity to do even more. And you have the opportunity to build something here that is greater than you can build in a place that will just consider you another one of the guys. Arizona sports, this state is filled with tons of champions, tons of great historical wins, but only a couple of major professional sports championships. The most successful professional teams in Arizona are the Phoenix Mercury and the Arizona Rattlers, which are an indoor football team. And I understand that college sports are not professional, but the level with NIL, they might as well be. And the level of success, we've had one championship in college basketball. Tommy Lloyd has a chance to do something greater. And by that, I mean he has a chance to put Arizona among the blue bloods. You can put Arizona with UConn and Kansas and Kentucky and all these teams that have won multiple championships, with Florida and all these schools. Like, you can do that. You can put us there. You really can with UNC. Arizona can rise to that level. Arizona is considered one of the best schools in the country. We've made many Final Fours. We've been close many times, but we have one championship. And there is an opportunity for Tommy Lloyd to build a legend, not only for himself, but out of this school. And if you leave and you go to North Carolina, you are just one of the guys. You're just one in a line of coaches. And it's not meant to disrespect what the dudes of North Carolina have done. There have been amazing coaches there. But this is the chance for you to be the guy who cements Arizona as one of the greatest schools in the history of college basketball. You don't get that chance at UNC. That's already been done. Whoever they hire, it's whatever. You don't get that chance. You get that chance here. You get the chance at Arizona to build something that is special forever, to be remembered as a legend who turned the school from great to dynastic. You don't get to do that at UNC. You don't get to do it almost anywhere else. This is the job. And I know that Arizona, what I worry about is Arizona doesn't have the money. They're in a financial crisis. Somebody, an Arizona former player, needs to step up and write a check to keep Tommy Lloyd at the University of Arizona. We need this guy. We need him for the future of this program. And listen, you just beat Arkansas by 20. He is dominating teams later into the tournament. This isn't round one. That was the number 4 seed. That was John fucking Calipari. Tommy Lloyd beat the shit out of him. Don't leave, man. Don't go. I am asking you, stay at the University of Arizona. This tournament run is special. Arizona has a chance to do something that is amazing. Shout out to my boy Burry. He has been shooting the lights out, hitting so many clutch shots. This has been fun. And I hope that we can, at some point during this, break down some Wildcats plays. Let's watch what Jaden Bradley's doing. Let's watch what Krivas is doing. Let's watch what Koa Pete is doing. By the way, Koa Pete, absolute monster inside. Krivas, absolute monster inside. Completely dominating games, making them these huge gaps. You know, and I long said that Jaden Bradley would need to be the best player in the tournament for U of A to win, but he has done what he does is he controls the game, he controls the pace, and then in the clutch, he starts hitting shot after shot, layup after layup. Jaden Bradley has controlled everything. Koa Pete and Krivas have completely just cut everything off inside. It's awesome. And then you just got Del Orso out there, you know, stroking triples. Burry's doing the same thing. You know, Waka's had a couple of moments here. Like, this is a great team. And Tommy Lloyd is the best international recruiter in college basketball, hands down, bar none. He did it at Gonzaga. He's doing it at Arizona. He is the best international college basketball recruiter. There's no question. Tommy Lloyd knows the international basketball scene. He knows how to scout these guys. Someone from Arizona needs to write the check. Keep Tommy Lloyd. Clip that. Clip all of that. Clip that whole thing. Make 4 clips. Clip that. Keep Tommy Lloyd. To Tommy Lloyd staying in Arizona. Very important to me. Whoo. All right. Not going so good for my other boys. Forgive me for the Sonics hat. I'm talking about a lot of Arizona stuff. We're going to talk NBA expansion coming up. That's why I'm wearing the Sonics hat. But I realize as I sit here and talk about Arizona basketball over and over wearing the Sonics hat, it looks weird. I want the Sonics back in the league. It's a nostalgia thing for me. It's weird that I'm wearing a Sonics hat. I wear Arizona stuff. You guys know where I am. You can see the Valley hat right in the corner. You know what's up. My boys are in trouble. You know, we're 7 games above 500, and nobody could have expected that coming into the season. Nobody would have expected that. I mean, I thought we would be able to be a 500 team. I really did. I believed that this was a 500 basketball team. And they're better than that. And injuries have really taken a toll. Injuries and game winners. The Suns over the last couple of weeks have suffered like 5 or 6 last second losses that any amount of health, you could maybe have half of those. And if this team was, 43-30 right now, it's just so different. But there's 7 games above 500. There's 9 games left. You're a couple games ahead of the Clippers. You're trying to hold them off. You don't want to follow the 8 seed. You want to stay in the 7 seed. And this is one of those things that's really frustrating because, again, we sat on here on Sunday Night Suns and talked a lot about how we wanted the 6 seed. We wanted out of the play-in. That was the goal for this season. That became the goal for the season is let's get the Suns to the 6 seed because we knew that, getting higher. I mean, at one point we were talking about how we could potentially be in the 3 seed. Like it was, this season was going so well. Injuries and reality come around. And that's for anyone, fine. But if you're the Suns right now, you got to look at this and say, we got to keep this thing away from the Clippers. You don't want to fall even further. And so you got to win 6 of these 9 games, keep yourself in position, because then the Clippers would basically have to win every game. They're not going to win every game. And it's going to be hard to do that. The Suns have just been ravaged by injuries. And listen, they're not season-ending injuries. Guys are going to come back. That is going to help. But we have seen how important Dylan Brooks is lately. And you can't tell me that the Suns wouldn't have won some of these last second games without Dylan Brooks out there. They absolutely would have. I'm not saying they would have won all of them, but they would have won some of them. And, with Jokic, with Wembanyama, but it's just been constant. And my issue remains with Jalen Green. We've seen it a few times. We've seen, again, we watched it on highlights. We've seen the athleticism, the speed, the first step, all of those things. But at the end of these games, he has been bad. He bricks his shots. He drives into traffic. He throws bad passes. He panics. He does not know what to do at the end of games. Now, I understand the idea that, he's 24. And the point was he was supposed to be better at this stuff playing off Booker. And at this point, to me, Jalen Green is a wonderful player from basically up until 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. And then I just don't want him on the court anymore. He's not a closer. And I'm not saying he can't be a closer, but he is consistently showing that he doesn't know what to do at the end of games. And I don't want to be a hater. I want this to go well. His talent is undeniable. His speed is undeniable. The things that he can do, so many guys cannot do. But he doesn't have touch. He doesn't have a backup plan. He doesn't know what to do when things break down. And, listen, let's be fair. Devin Booker has also been bad in the clutch in a lot of these games lately. Booker has also missed multiple shots at the end of games that we could have won. There have been multiple games where Book has just not had it. And, despite the fact that he's been very good, it's just the end of games have been tough for us. We're going through a cold stretch. But the problem that I will continue to have is that when things matter so much, Jalen Green has bad decision-making. And it's like he'll score 40 in a game and everyone's like, oh, he hit 11 threes or what, and I get it. I really, really do. But I need him to not be detrimental in the last 2 minutes of a playoff game. And he's not demonstrating that ability right now. And the thing is that this is a dude who, again, just all of the talent in the world is there. He's just got to figure out a way to make the same decisions at 1 minute that he made at 6 minutes. Jalen is the kind of person who changes his decision-making because he's like, oh, there's only a minute left. I have to be more conservative. No, you don't. Hit a step back three with a minute left. That's fine. I really truly believe that at the end of this games, he loses focus and confidence in himself. And it leads him to do weird things. He doesn't lose ego, though. He still will take the shot, but he does lose confidence. They're different things. He still believes in himself, and yet it's just he doesn't know what he's doing. I want to believe that these are growing pains. The problem is that these are the growing pains that he went through with the Rockets in the playoffs last year. And I wanted to believe that in this scenario, playing next to Booker would help him. Now, he's been hurt a lot, and he hasn't got to play next to Book as much as he wants. And Book has at times deferred to him and said, go for it, Jalen. So it's hard to sort of blame him for doing what has been asked of him in terms of taking those final shots or attacking the rim in those final plays of the game. But it's been suboptimal. And you have 9 games remaining. And the Suns need to lock their way into the 7th seed, which will still be the play-in, but it's better than we anticipated. It's better than we anticipated coming into the season. We need to be proud of it. And listen, again, make the playoffs. Any fucking thing can happen when you make the playoffs. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter who it is. You never know. The We Believe Warriors beat the 67-win Mavericks. You just never fucking know. make the playoffs. Even if you have to go through the play-in, get this job done. And the Suns need to bring everyone back, get as healthy as possible, and fight. And that's it. That's all there is to this at this point. This team has given their all the entire season. They have battled in a way that nobody expected they would be able to with the success that they've had. Now, you're 4 games behind the Rockets at this point. You're probably not going to be able to move up. The Rockets would need to lose, most of their games. We need to win most of our games. It would be very hard. It just would. But you keep fighting. You fight for that 7 seed. And then, you try to get healthy and you figure things out later. We've seen how good this team is at their best. This team was playing at, like a 55 win pace when total and healthy. So we know the capability. If this team could pull off a playoff round upset, that would be legendary. Because again, the goal has to be to keep Devin Booker, to keep him happy. And I don't think Devin wants to leave. And I think this season has done a lot to reinvigorate his hopes for the future. But it goes so much further if you get to the second round of the playoffs. And you're saying to yourselves, hey, if we can get through this, we're in the conference finals. And maybe you can't quite reach that. But the point is, when you start to get that close, you can feel it. And if you're within inches of the conference finals, when you're in the conference finals, anything can happen. And if you're inches away from that, it's going to be hard not to believe in this team. And so as we come down the stretch of the season, the biggest thing for me, I accept the Suns are going to be in the 7th seed. I accept that they're going to be in the play-in. It is what it is. What I want is for this team to look themselves in the eye and realize that it is gut check time. To realize that there is more to do here and that there is an opportunity. Because, look, the way things break out, matchups are everything. And you might find yourself playing a team you're pretty damn good against, despite being behind them in the standings because, number 1, injuries. And number 2, this team didn't know who they were coming into the season. Now, everyone has to deal with injuries. Everyone has to deal with identity. None of that is special. So the Suns are not unique in that way. But it is also true that coming into this season, their identity was more in flux than almost any team in the league, and that they have dealt with almost as many injuries as any team in the league. Now, aside from maybe the tanking teams that just sit guys out. Now, again, you cannot excuse any of those things. It doesn't say, oh, well, that's, it doesn't do anything. But it explains why you are where you are in the seeding. It's a lot hard to win, 50-plus games when your top 4 players are out. That certainly is understandable. And so for the Suns, I just want themselves to realize there's so much more here. There's a lot of meat left on the bone. The goal needs to be stay in the 7th seed, keep the Clippers behind you, get to the play-in, and then you just start clawing. And again, if this Suns team can figure out a way to win a playoff round, the organizational joy would be something that we haven't seen in a long time. Because, listen, I understand the rings and the Kobe, if we're not playing to play championships, blah, blah, blah. The most fun I have had watching basketball is this season and the 2013 season. The Suns did not make the playoffs in 2013. The finals run was fun. The following season that we won 60-plus games was fun. The joy that this team plays with is so much more important to me than so many other things. And if this team wins around, you are talking about the level of joy and excitement for this team will be through the roof. There's a lot of youth here. There's a lot of future. I understand you got Bradley Beal's dead money. Guess what? Every team has a shitty contract. Every single team has a shitty contract that doesn't help. The Suns have theirs. It happens to be dead money. Good for them that it's not a dude on the bench pouting. So, we'll just keep fighting. And that money matters a little bit less every year as it becomes less of the salary cap. And the Suns have done so well at finding guys on the edges. Just make the play-in, get through, get to that 2-7 matchup, and then we'll see what happens. And if you make it through, and I believe that you can make it through that 2-7 matchup, then who the fuck knows what will happen. And I'm not saying that the Suns are a championship team this year. They're going to win all, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying that nobody would have anticipated that they could be where they're at right now. So I'm not about to sit here and say that we can't do a little bit more, because I've seen this team beat some great teams. I've seen them beat the Thunder and play the Thunder to a draw. So I think we know what's up. That being said, I have told you how to fix tanking. And I find this obnoxious because it's really quite simple. The tanking fixes that they're proposing are basically expanding the lottery to 18 or 22 teams. The ideas are basically expanding the lottery and changing it so that, there's flat odds for the top 5 teams. But no matter what they do, it's still good business to lose. All the things that they come up with, it's good business to lose. You have to eliminate that. You have to eliminate the idea that it's good business to lose. So the solution is, and I've said this before, put the teams that lose in the first round into the lottery. Add the teams that were in the play-in that lost. The teams that lose in the first round have higher odds than the teams that lost in the play-in. So losing the first round, so making it to the first round losing gives you a better chance of getting the number 1 overall pick than does, losing in the play-in. See, here's the thing. There's a lot of different ideas. Some people have said we should give the number 1 overall pick to the team that wins the play-in tournament, blah, blah, blah. What you forget is that players and teams are not necessarily incentivized to add the number 1 overall pick. If I'm a small forward trying to get minutes and the number 1 overall pick is a small forward, I don't necessarily want my team to get that player. So leaving it up to the players to decide is not a smart idea. But no one is ever going to take out of a playoff series. If you have the opportunity to win a playoff series, you will go for it. See, teams might tank out of trying to make the play-in because they know they're going to lose the play-in if it means they have a higher chance at if they could potentially get the number 1 overall pick because they're going to be in the lottery. But nobody is going to tank out of winning a playoff series for a shot at a top pick when they have a chance to make it to the next round of the playoffs. The players will never do that. They will give everything they have to make it to the next round. The players don't give a fuck about your draft prospect. They want to win. But when they fail to do that, you add this dude to the team. That's the way to do this because it rewards teams who are good, but not quite there. And, again, nobody, there's just no world. You're not going to go to your players and say, hey, we're going to try to lose this playoff series because we want to add X player. No player is going to go with that. But this stuff happens when it's in the regular season because they can just say, hey, you're out. No one's watching. No one's paying attention. It's the regular season in Utah. But when it's in the playoff game and millions of dollars are on the line and every single eye that's on it matters, you're never going to tank out of a playoff series because, again, you only get to the playoffs so many times. You only have so many opportunities to do things. And so these players are never going to take a scenario where they have the opportunity to win a playoff series and choose to lose so that they can chase a draft prospect that would never happen. And that's why this needs to be done. That's why it needs to be based on this, because you can take all the teams that lose in the first round, add the teams from the play-in. And again, if there are duplicates, because this team was in the playoffs this year and the play-in last year, just keep going back, adding the teams that were there before. The point is that you want to add teams that do not have currently the means to compete for the conference finals. And you want to add potentially players to them. And again, you put them in a lottery still. You don't just give them the number 1 overall pick. You put it in a lottery and you see what fucking happens. But it will remove the incentive to lose. Teams will have to try. And that's the point. That's what will work. Because right now it is good business to lose. And it would not be good business to lose if you had to make it to the first round to even be considered to get a pick. And I understand some people's complaints. Well, that means that you'll have teams that will suck for years because they'll be in the playoffs or out of the playoffs and they won't get a draft pick. So fucking what? You have teams that suck for years now getting top draft picks and wasting their careers. Why are we okay with that? Make teams learn how to be good. Make them learn how to scout. Make them learn how to have good business practices. That's the way to do this. And every other thing is foolishness. My idea is the right idea. This is something I am 100% on. It's the blunt doctor draft strategy, and it is correct. And, they're not going to do it because nobody ever listens to me. But I know that I'm right, and that's what really matters in the end is, when you have self-confidence, you're good. And again, I mentioned it before. We'll mention it now because, again, I've got the Seattle hat on. Basically, and this is what I've been saying for years, the NBA is adding teams in Seattle and Las Vegas. I said this for a very long time, and other people were like, well, what about potentially they could do Mexico City or they might do – they were London. They've always been going to add Seattle and Las Vegas. The NBA has greatly regretted how they handled the Thunder situation with the Sonics moving to Oklahoma City. I'm not saying that they regret it with the Thunder success. I'm saying that they regret the way that they handled it because the NBA sold everyone in Seattle on the new owners being committed to staying in Seattle. And then, emails came out that they purposefully intended to move the team and blah, blah, blah. But the point is that the NBA would like a mulligan on the way they handled that situation because they did it shittily, and they know that they need to bring the Sonics back, and they're going to. And again, that's why I'm wearing the Sonics hat. Listen, the NBA is better when the Seattle Supersonics exist. They're a marquee historical franchise. It was dumb as fuck that they were ever moved. I hate it so much. I hate that Kevin Durant's career was started in Seattle and then moved to Oklahoma City. That shit was dumb. Seattle should have had Kevin Durant. There's all these things. So I'm excited to see that. The Las Vegas thing is more interesting. Las Vegas is such a transient city. The people who come there to see these games, so many of them don't even live there. A lot of them come from Los Angeles. It's always been the whole thing that the way that Lakers odds are placed doesn't actually have anything to do with what the Lakers will do, but it has to do with what the odds makers believe they can get people to drive from Los Angeles and bet on. And so, the idea of a Las Vegas NBA team is very interesting. Funny enough, LeBron James shot down rumors of the idea that he would be part of a Las Vegas franchise, which is something that has been rumored for a very long time. So interestingly enough, it seems that I think that LeBron's going to play another season because if he's shooting down the Vegas ownership ideas when we're already talking about expansion in the next few years, I think LeBron's going to play another year. I think that the Cavs reunion stuff is starting to get really real. I think that he's sick of the way that Lakers fans view him. And so for him to shoot down the Vegas ownership stuff, which I legitimately thought was very real, I think LeBron's going to play another year. And so it's going to be really interesting to see. As far as facilities, you've got T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. They have the ability, and there's plenty of space to build another arena on the Strip. They're about to build the A's, baseball stadium on the Strip. The Raiders football stadium is on the Strip. There's no reason they can't build another basketball stadium on the Strip. Like there's plenty of ways to make this work. The question is just like, does it work? I do think that basketball lends itself a little better to Las Vegas than other sports. Filling a Raiders stadium, I feel, is really hard just because, again, You're on the Strip. It's a transient population. So many people are in and out of the city. I think that basketball is a little bit easier to do with that. It's a little bit, and an NFL game is so expensive. Just because you happen to be in Las Vegas on a Sunday, you're not necessarily going to go to an NFL game, but you might go to an NBA game. And I think this can work. It's just going to be very interesting. Now, I mean, the greatest proof that it can work is the Aces, right? In the WNBA, they're the most dominant team in the league. They've been, winning championships constantly, and they're in Las Vegas, and it proves that, you can have professional teams there. But it's just going to be interesting to see how this works out. And it's also going to be interesting to see what team moves east, because obviously both Las Vegas and Seattle will be in the Western Conference. You're bumping from 30 to 32 teams. You're adding 2 teams to the Western Conference, which means you need to move 1 team to the Eastern Conference. And so, I think that the obvious choices, there's pretty much 3 teams. There's Minnesota, Memphis, and New Orleans. I believe the answer is New Orleans. I believe they're the furthest east. To me, it should be if Memphis or New Orleans is the furthest east, it should be that team. I don't think it should be Minnesota. I think it should be Memphis or New Orleans, whichever one is further east. I believe it's New Orleans. New Orleans being in the Western Conference is laughable. So, I think that's the biggest thing. And it's going to be interesting to see how all this shit works out, because we'll have an expansion draft, which means 8 players will be protected on each team. And you got 2 teams drafting, which means every team's going to lose players. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this shit works out. Who owns the teams? How does all of this go? Especially when the NBA is trying desperately to compete in Europe and find a way to sort of either usurp or join the EuroLeague. How does all this factor in? But I have long believed that we need expansion. We're at a point where we have dudes who are legitimate NBA players on fucking 2-way contracts. Mac McClung is like scoring 50 points in G League games and can't even get an NBA contract, despite the fact that he's won all these NBA slam dunk contests. Like, there's a lot of talent. We need 2 more teams. It's time. And so I'm glad to see the league doing it. It's time to bring back the Sonics. It's going to be interesting to see what the Vegas team is. It's interesting because, you got the Raiders, the A's, the Aces. What sort of, Vegas iconography will they choose? The Golden Knights. It's going to be interesting to see what they choose. The Golden Knights have proven successful in Vegas, so that's my team. Go Knights, go. So anyway, hey, what are you going to do? I'm going to be very interested to see how this all goes. I want the Sonics back in Seattle. And we need, good ownership for both teams. And we need rules that neither team can move. I'll be back tomorrow night. Whether or not that's on the King and Doc podcast or here is to be seen, because I'm not sure yet. But either I will be here or the King and Doc will be here. We got to talk about the Arizona-Purdue game, which will be going off tomorrow. I'm going to have to cover that no matter what. And there will be many other things to go. As always, remember that the most important thing in the world is taking care of the people around you and making sure that everyone around you is safe and secure. And whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, do what you can to pay attention and care for the ones that you love, because you never know when you're going to be in a really bad situation and you need to take care of someone, and you just always want to be ready for that. So let's prepare. Bear the fuck down. Let's get this championship.